Weekly. My name is Harold. Tonight we're going to be talking with Cassie, who has had a personal experience with gray aliens, and we'll get her take on what's going on, and we'll try to find the most information possible so that we begin to understand these things and are not afraid of them. Due to the subject matter, viewer discretion is advised. And okay, Cassie, would you like to just make a opening statement if you like?
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Cassie and I live in Australia. And uh, I'm a naturopath and I do a lot of spiritual healings and miraculous healings. And yes, I had an experience some years ago with meeting the Greys. Mm,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
yeah.
All right, cool.
Sorry, warming up.
It's okay. Um, so yeah, I have some questions I'd like to ask you, and we can go through it and take our time. First of all, um, how did you encounter these aliens?
Well, I was traveling some distance to meet some friends inland, and we were coming on our way back from visiting them, but we'd been driving for hours and hours, and it was where we ended up deciding to camp to get some sleep. But the experience happened, which just so happened to be at the same place a corroboree was going on. So there was a little bit of energy that it wasn't a great place to stop, but because white Australians aren't normally um, allowed near those kind of um, ceremonies that the Aboriginals have. So yeah, when we stopped, I kind of had a feeling we shouldn't have been there. They do have much dealings with the Greys, the Australian Aboriginals, from my knowledge.
Okay. And so you stopped for the evening. You set up to camp. How
Well,
long?
we
Yeah.
just slept in the back of the ute,
Oh, okay.
yeah, because we didn't plan on staying long. You
Oh,
could hear the didgeridoos and chanting and stuff going on.
yeah.
So yeah, it was a popular spot for that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how long from the time you stopped until you noticed something was going on?
Probably about 2 hours.
Uh,
Um, and I woke up
okay,
and
so it woke
they
you
were
out. It woke you out of a sleep, huh?
yeah, yeah. I'm not a terribly deep sleeper anyway, but and yeah, they were standing there. They weren't tall aliens; they were short ones.
Okay.
And there wasn't any speaking. That it was more mind communication.
Okay.
And I knew from my working with Australian Aboriginals that I shouldn't have been there. So, with my mind, if you like, I asked them if it was okay to be there.
I see.
They said no, and
So were you sure that these things were aliens? I mean, or
yeah.
not
Uh,
normal, let's
when I
say.
was younger, my brother and I had a similar experience. So I had a pretty good idea there was, other things out there.
Uh-huh.
From the work I've done over the last 10 years, definitely know there's other things out there.
I see. And so did you get out of your vehicle and
No, I wasn't able to move.
okay. Did they take you out of your vehicle?
Not as far as I remember. No, I remained, I was kind of scared. So I basically was going to do anything they said at that point
Right.
to be safe.
I
Yeah.
I I would have guessed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the experience being, what it was. kept me quite still.
Have you ever had this experience before? I mean, obviously you lived in Australia all your life, so have you ever encountered these things before?
Yeah, when my brother and I were younger, we were having a bet about going into the graveyard. It was daytime, and we were just seeing who was brave enough to go in there. But as we were approaching it, we saw a grey alien walking through the cemetery, and we kind of just stopped and froze, and both turned around and began to walk back, and we never said a word about it. We never spoke to each other about it. We didn't know what it was at the time, and so I've never spoken to him about it. It was almost like it was agreed we wouldn't talk about it.
All right. In that experience, did you did you know it was an alien? I mean, could you see it clearly enough to know that it was a gray alien?
It actually had a yeah, it was very clear. It was frighteningly clear. It actually had a strange, it's always been hard to explain, round kind of helmet on its head.
Hmm,
I found some pictures a few years ago, very similar. I've never seen before.
I see. And
Yeah,
it didn't speak to you or anything?
no, I'm not even sure if it knew we were there. We were approaching the cemetery.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you've had at least two encounters with similar, the ones that you saw outside of your car or vehicle, were they did they appear to be the same kind of gray aliens?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but they didn't have helmets.
They didn't have the helmets. They were very large helmets, almost just too big for, to make any sense to be on the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And after telling you you weren't supposed to be there, was there anything else that they said to you?
No, but I felt like there was downloads,
Yeah,
like something happened, but I'm not sure what it was,
I
if you
see.
know what I mean.
I see. So they were doing something and they're warning you off.
Yeah, and then, that about the next day, I had the marks on my back and the back of my legs, so
And
yeah.
so you went to the doctor.
Yeah, yeah, I did, and, they weren't familiar with it at all. I asked them if it could have been from heat, even though I had no heat on my body. I live in quite a cold town,
Yeah.
and so they said they had seen it in corpses, like
Wow.
rigor, when someone had passed, and, for a few years, I kept seeing doctors or even seeing a doctor about something else. They would see the marks and kind of freak out and ask what they were, and, I would ask them the same question. So eventually, a skin specialist was brought in, and they didn't know either what it was, but the marks would go very black at times.
I see. And
Mm.
do you believe that they were radiation burns?
I think it's possible, yeah, but
Okay.
that's only through what, I've been researching over the years trying to find out.
Right, right. Um, so how long since this encounter with these two aliens?
Probably just in over 10 years.
Okay. And
I have to say, I most of my life quite psychic, um, but after that encounter, when I look back, um, those abilities went through the roof. They became quite strong, and I ended up working basically in that kind of field from that time on.
I see. And
Yeah.
did those do those abilities scare you?
No, they excite me just at, how amazing they are. Everyone's got them. It's,
Yeah, I understand.
yeah,
But what
but
I
just
mean,
the beauty of it all, just
yeah,
the connection that everyone has with each other.
right. So Before this time, when you encountered these two aliens outside your vehicle, did you have psychic abilities? Were you especially psychic?
Um, a fair bit, yeah, but not to where I was able to control it very well
I see.
and direct it, if you like, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
Just
yeah, it does. Go on, go ahead, please. Explain.
sorry, what was that?
Oh, I said, yeah, please go ahead, explain. You gained a much greater ability to control these things uh, since the encounter.
Yeah, and a quicker connection with remote viewing, and um, I guess it's more involved than that, but um, more able to see,
Hmm, I
if
see.
that makes any sense. Yeah, and yeah, basically my whole life changed and got a lot better.
I see. And was your brother with you this night, or your friend? Was it just your friends?
No, it was just a friend, and
Okay. Was he? Did they encounter the same abilities after the fact?
no, they didn't. They weren't awake for it.
Hmm.
I
Okay.
didn't tell them because I knew they were fairly skeptical about anything cosmic, and so I'd actually told them last year about it. I
I
just
see.
thought I'm going to tell them, right? And they said to me that they thought, that may be the case because of just my wanting to get out of there pretty quickly that morning.
Right.
We they did say I could stay a little bit longer, but as soon as I woke in the morning, I had to leave. And
Never
the
come back.
Aboriginal magic's so strong, I need to listen.
So, do you believe that these aliens were involved with what was going on with the Aboriginals?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay. And the next day, did these burns or whatever on your body, did they affect you in any way? Did it make you sick?
No, no.
Okay. Um, did you feel like they were burned, or like you had a sunburn, or anything?
No, there wasn't any sensations or anything that came with them.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is just simply if they were radiation burns, you would feel like heat or, you know, like a burning sensation, after the fact.
I'd have to say that this might sound odd. Um, my temperature's always a little bit higher than most people's. Um, if I cuddle people, they'll always comment how hot my skin is, and that's been like that for some time. So I don't know if that factors in at all.
It might, because
Yeah,
it wasn't that way after before the incident.
no, and I got curious and started testing my temperature.
Hmm.
It was not high, but my body heat was, so I
Oh,
don't really know what that means.
hmm.
Yeah,
Have you now, since that incident, have you ever encountered these things in any form?
I feel that last year sometime they were around me,
I
but
see.
I didn't see them physically. I saw them energetically.
Okay. Do they pass? Now, I have heard in other stories that they pass through portals. Is this your take on it? Do you see that as well?
They what with portals?
They use these portals to pass in and out of our reality.
Yeah, I believe that was some of the things I've seen occur in the sky.
Okay. You have seen their ships, obviously.
Yeah, I am. It sounds crazy, but I was driving. We the town I live in, you come down a hill into it. Um, Driving down this hill last year or the year before last, um, and saw quite a large ship going over our town. I wanted to take photos, but because of the hill, I had to find somewhere safe to do it, and it was on dark. And just as I got into town, hopped out of the car to take the photo, it was over just going over the mountain, so I missed it. But I
Ah,
did get some audio of a ship over the top of our house. But you
yeah,
couldn't see anything, you could only hear it,
I see. And
and often some crunching sounds. So
hmm, so that was over your house?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. So they've been keeping tabs on you since then.
Possibly. I know that the town next to me has quite a lot of activity with UFOs.
Have you felt any night dreams of them, or woke up and couldn't move? Think,
No,
okay,
no.
okay, because in other stories I've heard that once you encounter these things, they stay with you your entire life. Um, they tend to come back.
Yeah.
Have you felt anywhere on your body that there's a some sort of a tag or a chip?
Yeah. Yeah. In my right shoulder,
Oh,
and I call it wasp stings. It's like
yeah.
very sharp stabbing, like a needle going into my shoulder.
Okay.
So yeah, I have to put pressure on it to stop that. And that's been something that's been happening.
Okay. So you feel that you might be chipped.
Also, possibly my left eye. So
Okay. So your left eye as well. So maybe they see what you see and they feel what you, or at least they know where you are. You know.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
okay. I have some other questions. I have been dealing with a lot of Mandela affected individuals who have been having a lot of experiences with the paranormal, um, on a lot of different levels, basically, from the most basic paranormal to encountering aliens, and aliens going through dimensional portals, what have you. In your opinion, do you believe that these aliens are actually aliens, or do you believe they're dimensional creatures, or do you believe they're demons, or something else? What do you think?
possibly more interdimensional beings.
Okay,
But there was always that fear with the Millabs that they're a recreation. So,
okay,
but I would say myself energetically that they are, just other beings,
okay,
other intergalactic beings.
okay. What do you think they want from you?
Hmm. Well, I have wondered if we're not their family.
Hmm, I see. And do you think that they may be attempting to wait until you get? Oh, that's the question I didn't ask you. You have children?
Yeah, I have 4 sons.
Okay. And have any of these four sons encountered these things?
Not aliens, what we perceive as aliens, but they see spirit, the
Okay.
whole 4,
Okay.
um, and all very psychic as well.
Okay, but they've never seen these gray beings.
No.
Okay. Um,
I know they'd say because they're very open-minded.
yeah, I understand. Um, it's a good thing, to you know look at all the possibilities before you make determinations.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
because sometimes we misidentify things. Um, something that appears to be a monster could actually be an interdimensional creature. Something that appears to be an alien could be a demon. Um, we have to be very calm and use some sort of Occam's razor, if you will, to identify these things. So
Mm.
that we can help other people, who encounter them. Um, Now, did your friend ever encounter in their life?
No, I believe you probably have to be open to that kind of thing
Okay,
to see it.
all right.
But
Um,
that doesn't mean that you won't see it, but you know what I mean.
right. Now, how about your parents? Did they ever experience this?
Yeah, they had an experience with the Min Min lights. Um, Quite a few people I know have. Have you heard of them?
No. Could you explain it to me, please?
They're often seen around Winton near Mount Isa in Queensland,
Okay,
and they're these lights. They can be one or many, and they often follow cars
I see.
um, for great distances. Some have been known to come up in front of the cars and do circles and stuff like that. And most people just keep driving till they can get to Mount Isa or somewhere where there's people. So yeah, there's books written about it. They've been around forever in Australia. Mm,
Right.
In
Now,
Min.
when this happened to your parents, did they experience loss of time or any other effects?
I'm vague on that, but there is some feeling there was a mention of time seeming to stretch out, like when you get a bit scared and everything slows down.
Right.
But my father was highly psychic,
Yeah.
extremely, which is
Okay.
why I think I began with some abilities.
Right. And was did he ever use these things in his life, or after he encountered this time anomaly, was his abilities stronger?
They were always so strong. It's it's hard to say.
I see.
He could read your mind pretty good. Um,
Okay.
the Australian Aborigines can read minds very well.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I ask is because you see, in these cases, I've read case files on a few. Um, they appear to be generational. Um, and what happens is they'll start with, the great grandparents and the grandparents, the parents, the children, your children, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe that.
and they tend to follow you, your family for whatever reason. Now, I don't know exactly what reason that would be. Whether you know, uh, there's some sort of genetic code, that they're looking for, or is it, something else, but what my intent is with this channel is to help people understand, afraid to give them information, so that they're when they experience these things, they can identify it properly, um, and they'll know what to do, in these cases, because as I said, a lot of Mandela affected individuals they've encountered uh, the paranormal, and it seems to be a much higher rate than normal people. And so uh, that's my goal for this channel, is to shed some light on these things and identify them properly, whatever it happens to be. I mean, if it's a demon, then let it be a demon, but at least you'll know what it is when you see it. You won't be confused, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so you said you've been to the Aboriginal. Have you been to the Aboriginal lands before?
Yeah, a lot. Um, Being a gypsy, and we moved all the time. My brother and I spent all our time walking through the scrub or rainforest or wherever we were. And from a young age, you would know um, when you're on Aboriginal land or coming near it. The energy was strong and quite frightening,
Uh,
and it was almost impossible to walk it.
I
So I ended up getting to know which was their land.
see. And
The odd thing about Australia is if well, not odd but interesting, is that if there's a street or a town that's has nothing but bad stuff happen, it's often on top of a either old Aboriginal massacre site or burial site.
I see.
Yeah, so I've done work going in and working with energies around these areas.
Yeah,
Yeah, and putting crystals into the ground and yeah, making some kind of agreement, if you like, to let it be okay,
I see.
so bad things stop happening.
Do you have connections to Aboriginal shaman or holy men?
I have met a clever man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in that experience, what did you get out of that experience?
Um, Meeting the clever man was more an energetic thing, and it was all about my respect for them.
Okay.
So
I
it
mean,
was all being and allowed to be in the same, you know, room as this person. It was more about that.
okay.
It was also in gratitude for the work I was doing with the Aboriginals. They put metaphoric spears and boomerangs, and they sing stuff into people. So I spent a lot of years pulling out boomerangs and spears out of people, not real ones, but energetic ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I started to get a little bit of a name for doing that, and that's how I got to meet the clever man.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of their communication is nonverbal.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, would you call them psychic as well?
Oh yeah, most definitely. They have the oldest magic in the world.
Yeah. I know I've heard stories about the Outback and Dreamtime and you know um, other things. Not having been there, I obviously don't know as much as you. Um, but uh, what was you when you went in to meet this clever man? Uh, did he give you any advice as far as dealing with things?
He did, but not in a sense of what we're used to receiving advice like. It
Right.
was it was all downloads.
I see.
So I won't even know a lot of what it was until I'm asked a question um, or till I stumble across something new, and
Right.
then I connect the downloads.
I
Not
see.
all of them, I believe we need to know what they are.
Yeah. Um, Now, when you encountered the um, gray men outside your vehicle, had you already known about the Mandela effect?
No, no, no. Looking back, I questioned a lot back then, but I wasn't aware of the Mandela effect at the time.
I see. And if you had to hazard a guess, how long from that experience till you did encounter the Mandela effect?
Well, I stumbled back upon the Mandela effect about 2.5 years ago, but
Okay,
it was a second wave.
I see. And
There was a previous one, but so I guess in a sense, yeah, I did probably did actually know about the Mandela effect, but there's some type of amnesia that came through at that time. So
Yeah.
most people forgot that about it.
Mm.
So it wasn't until the second wave that I resonated with the first time. It was first time was probably just over 10 years ago, but most people weren't communicating as much as they are online now.
Yeah.
And so most people just told each other that they were wrong. There
All right.
wasn't enough people to
Yeah.
correlate.
Obviously, were you married at that time or no?
No, I've never been married.
Okay, cool. Just wondering. The only reason I ask is because I just wondered if your significant other had experienced these things too.
No.
Okay. And he does, and do they know about the Mandela effect at all or no?
My children are very aware of it,
Okay.
and a lot of young people around here are very aware of it.
Okay. And in your own opinion, um, this is straying off topic just a tad, but what do you believe the Mandela effect is?
Well, it could be any number of things. I believe something's happening.
Yeah. I mean,
Um, I stumbled. What led me to come across the Mandela effect this time was not logo changes or anything like that. It was how the sun was behaving.
right,
Yeah, and I just lost my mother, and I wasn't sure if maybe I was going crazy and it was part of the grief. But and when I was asking people about why the sun was like coming up
uh-huh,
from the east and it should have been from my awareness setting in the west,
right,
but it was arising in the east and setting back in the west,
right,
and it wasn't changing its position properly. Yeah, and I noticed that because I was doing the same drive every day for years, and they were telling me, no, 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 it is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and giving me science,
right.
but it wasn't making any sense. So I thought I must be going crazy, and then uh, everything seemed quite surreal, and I wondered if maybe we'd all died, and
Yeah,
and so
I
I
understand.
went online and had a look about suns and that, and I saw Bernstein bears, and I'm not sure how you say it. Do you say Bernstein?
Actually, Bernstein.
Bernstein, yeah, Bernstein bears, and I always recreated books when I was younger, so
Yeah,
I would redraw a whole book and do the art and just totally reproduce books and music albums.
right,
That's what I did, and it was quite manic. And the Bernstein bears were one of the ones that I'd recreated. So when I saw the spelling different, I just thought this is weird, and then I remembered the first wave.
ah,
Yeah, and then I started looking more, and it was everywhere. Things were different everywhere.
right. And then, yeah, you went off on the trek, like we all do.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I like
I,
answers, so
I do have a few more questions for you, if you don't mind, Cassie.
no, not at all.
Okay, so these gray aliens, whatever, uh, gray interdimensional creatures, you know, whatever. If you had to nail it down, I mean, you said they were dimensional creatures, um, so obviously you don't think they're aliens as far as in space, but um, from another dimension of some sort. Would you call them actual dimensional creatures, or would you think that they were something else? I mean, you experienced them. What was the feel from them?
No, at the time, they felt very physical and real. Um, I'm not really too sure. I sometimes wonder if our definitions are a bit too constructed.
Yeah,
So, um, I guess I f I feel they're interdimensional beings. But with that said, intergalactically,
Yeah. Okay.
they have to be interdimensional to be in our dimensions for us to see them.
Right.
But I believe that they are, part of many beings that are out there in the galaxy.
Right. Um, okay, because the reason I ask, I I've had an experience myself. Not necessarily gray aliens, but something. When I was a child, I saw something in my father's bedroom, and it was looking at my father. And when I went to turn on the light, it disappeared, and it kind of sent me on a trek to figure these things out, to understand that, whether they disappear or whether they, step through a portal or get in a spaceship, they're there. We see them. They're not a figment of our imagination.
Oh, I think Don Juan's good here in that smoking the peyote and seeing what's all around us, which we don't normally see. And there's a lot going on around us. So,
Yeah, I agree with you. Um, but the reason I ask you what you felt is because I'm a somewhat psychic and an empath, and sometimes I feel a lot more than I see, and um, that's why I asked you if you felt something like cold, or if you felt warm, if you felt distant, if you felt whatever, felt like they were there to warn you off, and they would kill you if you didn't listen.
I guess if you couple the fact that I was at a sacred spot, um, there's much ceremony going on, even when the graves were beside my ute, because we were laying out under the stars.
Right.
Um, there was already that fear that I knew I was doing the wrong thing, spiritually speaking. So I guess when they were there, it really just made me realize I'd overstepped the line. So there was that energy of, I've done the wrong thing here.
Right.
So I did feel that I may have been punished, but the reason I feel I wasn't is because I am a true light being and I try to keep my light pure. I think if I had have been a bad person, and this is what I got from that night, that it may have worked quite the opposite for me.
I see.
Yeah.
So, uh, in conclusion, I just want to ask you one more question, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh, um, you we've ascertained that your parents experienced something, uh, a time dilation experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've experienced several things in your lifetime. Do you worry that this will be passed on to your children?
Well, no, no.
I see.
I try to live a life where I fear nothing
Yeah.
and just create the energy I want around me. And they've learnt the same thing from my experience. We could be scared of these interdimensional beings, aliens, whatnot,
Yeah.
but our own fellow man's quite scary. So, you know, in
Yeah.
my world, I think anything that will help them is good. Any kind of gift, and we do have every single one of us these abilities, but
Yeah.
veil comes down and we lose them, and trauma kicks in. And I work helping people develop their psychic abilities. So every single one has. develop them once they've realized they can. So I think it's a kind of a blessing.
Okay. And
Maybe I should fear these things more.
uh, do you have a message you'd like to pass on to the other Mandela affected brothers and sisters out here that are struggling with things? Is there some sort of advice you could give them?
Yeah, yeah. Believe in yourself. Um, these are your memories, and you are spot on. There is a massive wave of energy that's been going over the planet for some time, and try your best to look into how you can develop your psychic abilities, because that's probably going to be big in all this. And just basically, have keep your faith and don't let anyone kind of put you back to sleep, with their doubts. It's very real. We may not know what's causing it, but it's very real.
Thank you very much, Cassie. Thank you for coming on our show. Thank you for sharing your encounters in a very candid light. Thank you for giving us some advice that we can shine onto this subject of and wash away the fear that has been bring around these gray aliens.
Yeah, that's it. Wash away the fear. That's exactly it. And thank you for asking me on here. I hope I went okay.
All right. Have a great evening, everybody. This is going to be the first, and I hope many future shows. If you like it, go ahead and subscribe and tell all your friends. Okay? Thank you. Have a pleasant evening.